one is not a Buddhist, how can he practice? Is it possible to practice as well?
Practice meditation?
Yes.
Macam isi micik nangba mena, micik nangba mena, tadi kung kom gap tuh sarve nangba mena yang kom gap tha yorve.
Oh, gomlo chiwa nangba yor mari, gom chiwa de sebu nerok dagzore. Lang sebu nerok, kamsum senpi senyoye. Seminiti kamsum raja yor mari. Zokan, zungi kamsum senpi tamchi lewata di sajigalawe. Sebu nerok de dagzore. Suna japogore.
So when it comes to meditation or practice, then there is no Buddhist or non-Buddhist, because what we call meditation is to look at your own mind. And all sentient beings in the three realms of samsara have a mind. And only if they wouldn't have a mind, then we if there would be no mind, we couldn't even talk about the three realms of samsara. There would be nothing there. But we have the desire realm and the form realm and the formless realm. And the Buddha had said, may all beings of the three realms have happiness and the causes of happiness. And so because of that, it shows that they have a mind. And because they have a mind, anyone who has a mind can look at their mind.
But is it necessary to start? So if you want to start meditate with this preliminary practice nandro, or you can do a retreat without it and go to the higher level?
Tirita yina yang kisi nangba mena rwa nangba mena tini ngundu riba tamenda chig marwa tini nangba mena ngundu riba majena yang tini takas kom gyap tang tini ta sa thotse kom gyap tang yorwa sa kya chembola sopa tini kom gyap thuk ribe
ngundu shibade chu tangje je ngundu ro yin phi ro sem da gu na yin phi ro ngundu ro go re 강의들이 쉽게 탐치게 저도 동네와 동네가 자와 강리 나래 나 냥바지 뭐 나 매와야 말이 요와야 말이 생물대로 해야지 예를 들니 주 나한테 매와 줘고나 인피를 놓고 매와 줘는 실제로 줘서 말이지 이게 인피를 놓고 맞지와 제가 탑 로도나 봐 이제고 저와 뭐냐바 탑라 사촉 저와 뭐냐바 탑라 사족의 생공 공리 공도 배워서 상하지 라지는 비긴데 사우 요거 매도 진행된 쪽으로 생구 내려오고 타자와 탑락게 무슨 받게 좀 또 그것도 무슨 장가적인 연구요 말이야 그것도 로는 내가 가르치는 지를 핀고서 로데게 이 시합 연구요 그리고 그것도 그냥 뭐지 지를 핀고서 로데 다도 좀 연락이 다들 좀 연락이는 핀고서 로데 생기 상태를 요래 생기인데 나도 맞으면 생기 탑재를 핀고서 로데 대상적 생기 너는 인피를 로데 오늘들이 로데 있는 연구 요래 인피를 로면은 뭐좀 뭔지 섬지야는 지하성마도 딱딱한 필요 말이야.
So actually what we call the preliminaries, the preliminary or the mundro of all the Dharma practice is the altruistic mind. And if you really want to see the nature of your mind, you actually must have an altruistic mind as a preliminary. So all sentient beings in the 6 realms of samsara experience suffering. And the root of that suffering is a self. It is that concept of an I. And actually an I, a self, does not exist. There is no self, but also it is not that there is nothing. There is the natural state of the mind. And in order to understand it, we need to cultivate an altruistic mind. And there is no other way to actually see the nature of the mind. And so therefore, the Buddha gave a skillful means, a method to cultivate the altruistic mind, where it has not yet arisen, and that is to reflect on the 4 thoughts that turn the mind. And then secondly, to not let it decline where it has arisen, and that is to cultivate bodhicitta. And then to increase bodhicitta, that is the path of the Vajrayana, where we practice the deities. And so in this way, it is just like the growing of a flower from a seed into a sprout into a flower. Actually, we focus on the numbers of accumulations when we practice the Ngundro. But even if you don't know anything about the Ngundro, even if you don't know anything about those accumulations and numbers, whatever you do, if you just have an altruistic mind that wishes to benefit others, it is actually enough. If you only have an altruistic mind, that is kind of the preliminary. And that is actually something that all sentient beings have. It is because they have a mind, naturally, the nature of that mind is to have a care, an altruistic mind towards others to some extent, but only when one has a wish to benefit all beings, then it is called bodhicitta. So really the actual preliminary is the altruistic mind, and if you do not have this altruistic mind as a preliminary, then even if you accumulate hundreds of thousands of 300, 400,000 of Ngundro accumulations, it's really of not much benefit. Certainly not in this life, maybe in future lives.
Gom chibadi yete machina dege kala chawati dobodi yaga roma chageyore zade ha ko tong gom chiba tongda kare to chago ya chido number gom chiba tongda kare de gom chiba gonda sem ha ko ya re sem ha ko to sem kare sem la kare uri tata sem ji saji ni yore tami jen tong go 오, 다 코도 남바 잡아 상기래. 나서 생기래. 상기 가래라 버려. 생기 남네 상기니 생기 탐지 저도 잡아 상기래. 공장 로버를 좀 답답지 좀 도지 좀 딱 봤은 거야. 책 대징 아마도 저다 쓴 거. 생기 저도 잡아 상기래. 공장 로버를 좀 로버 좀 가래리. 나지 이디데 로버 같은 말이야. 대 유는 고 차선 세기 탐지 사제 여버지 잡토 쳐보나지 오늘들 로버트만 가지 다 이제 나라 차 이는 당신이 촌 차롬도 차선 다 세기 탐지 동의 시고는 갈고리 네 나디지 시고리 나디지 뉴모 뭐 제적 다 통거 뉴모 나디 나라 차니 이 뉴모 봐 다뭐 유목 독성지 들이 독나치 들이 유목 독기 때리를 독독들이 유목 저제 동지 와리 질 데르tin 들은 로아를 독 셈적으로 로아를 독 차송을 되게 담고 나한테 이쪽으로 다 마셨다 거기하든 세분내로 문에 가르리 때나 다다는 게 나오냐 받아 통고요 대회는 들이 딱 나오냐 받아 매바거나 들이 다다다 당지의 미술아 차오름도 시원을 관리 처리 차노래 상바도 이제 도 따버려 당지의 나도 잡고 따버려 딱 봐야 자감은 자감도 내켜요 선지 당지 지금 고와된 차오름도 고로를 놓고요 여기서 구고送는 코로 장소 류닝 고와지 생고랑 사지는 내가 박차를 류를 딱 고고요 류고고요 sem je kwang khoya yo ma o da gu ge na ni da samba da ni ge ni da di me pa cha sa samba ji ge cha che na de sem da chi go cha ge lo de cha so na ni di ka bi cha sem de o sem na ka la ji cha de ni na ka ni me wa ha ko to da de ba ngo ni da ni me to da gu de ma thong ge samba che me pa ni ge che me pa ji ne sem da na 샘도 잡을을 잡고 차고 사람들 잡을리는 차지. 대체 샘을 때려 샘 나가는 게 보고 또 샘은 이미도 샘 너무 저기 뭐 이러는 코디에 터지들이 너무 약하다 그래. 이 차도 상 이제 저바데 하고 나지 이메와 하고 때도 남고 되면 통제가 나가래. 뭐도 샘고 내려오시나 이메와 하고 저거 또나 다들 발피에 강에 차롱 줘서 잡지 쳐도 쭉 차서 사제가 사제 생기 이쪽에 와대 차롱도 쳐 이쪽 와야 되라고 그래.
So when we ask a question about what is meditation, often when we try to figure it out, we are asking questions about like a tree, for example. We're asking questions about the branches and the leaves of the tree, but we do not inquire into the roots, the essence of the tree. So when it comes to meditation practice, we should not focus on the various branches and so on, but really look at the essence of what is it actually, why are we meditating, what is the purpose of meditation. The purpose of meditation, of all practice, is to ultimately realize the nature of your mind. And so how is that mind then? So from our ordinary perspective, now first it seems that there is a duality. We for example, speak about a duality of sentient beings and Buddhas. And then, however, the Buddha actually, from the Buddha's perspective, the Buddha had said all beings are really Buddhas. You all are actually Buddhas. Beings are only obscured by temporary stains. And for example, this quote by the Buddha is something that Drikung Rinpoche had always mentioned. Actually, aside from these two lines here, he didn't say much else. But this is what he always said. He said, you all are really Buddhas, only obscured by temporary stains. And so that temporary stain is that belief in a duality of self and other. And because we have habituated to that for a very long time, it becomes very solid. So sentient beings therefore appear like ice blocks floating on the ocean being just like the Buddha mind. And temporarily we believe in the duality of self and other, and therefore we are attached to ourselves and we have an aversion against the other. And this belief makes the mind become like a block of ice, and therefore we suffer. And so if sentient beings want to become free of suffering, they must separate themselves from self-grasping. And all of the various afflictive emotions, the 84,000 different afflictions, come from the root of self-grasping. It is because of this fundamental attachment to the self. So first there is that, and then from that arise the 3 poisons, the 5 poisons, the 6 afflictive emotions, and then these 6 afflictions multiply, each combined with each other. So in the end we have 84,000 afflictions. And for this reason there is this diversity of sentient beings in the 6 realms of samsara, even though they have a single mind. So ultimately we need to free ourselves from self-grasping, and that is the point of meditation. We free ourselves from self-grasping when we see the nature of the mind. And so when you look at the mind right now, what you see is this idea of an I, a self. So that is like this ice block. And when this ice block melts, then eventually it will melt into the ocean. In order to melt, it needs heat or warmth. And the warmth that makes it melt is love and compassion. The grasping at a self is like the weather getting cold. And then it always stays in a freezer, for example. It always remains cold. And in that way we continue to circle like ice blocks in the ocean of samsara. Jigten Sumgon had said that what wanders in samsara is actually the body. It is that the mind temporarily grasps at various habitual imprints that identifies with the body, create this body, and this body created by imprints wanders in samsara, circles in samsara. But actually the mind itself never really goes anywhere, it never circles in samsara. And so it is through love and compassion that we can destroy self-grasping. The stronger your love, the more vast will be your mind. And then at the moment when the mind is vast, when you look at that mind, it becomes just like space. And then you understand that there is no duality. And when you see that there is no delineation, no separation, then you have understood the ultimate truth. And that is based on the preliminary of boundless love and compassion. Boundless love and compassion arises, and you look at your mind. For example, when you want to, you think, may all beings in this world be happy. In that moment, your mind actually pervades the entire world, and the ice block of self-grasping melts, and you see the space-like nature of the mind. That there's no duality. So all of samsara and nirvana is just like one tree that has a single root, a single base, and then many branches and leaves and so on. And all of these branches and leaves are actually confusion. What we really need to look at is the basis, is the root. And that root is non-duality, that there is no duality between self and other. So this is why we meditate, in order to see the nature of that mind. When you see it, you see there's no duality. So basically what the Buddha had said is that the mind of all the Buddhas is like an ocean, the mind of sentient beings is like ice blocks. So what the Buddha introduced us to is that this ice block is actually water if it melts.
Well, in the world there are so many religions, and how to unite all these different religions and have peace in the world.
Ni tengsan zamboling la chulok mambo yorwa la. Tini chulok mambo na pet pi mathumba thupa mambo yorwa. Tini ta thunder ta chulok thama thunder chia. Tini ta thupa me bati shiva nyam dutia thapshi khare yoris.
다 매번 치유는 촉박하네요 말이에요. 다 요새는 다 출력되는 촉박인 거예요. 상하기는 공정 되게 강내 등에가 싸워 강내서 등에가 싸워 나디네 송송. 야, 나니 소비면 토만이 되거든. 등에 말이 나대도 용 적고사지 인피스면 총고. 내 나니 소비면 그냥 무시지. 그냥 출력다. 뭐 출력 그 출력 돼서 마당기부터 추적되나 네 양답아 용을 요구요 말했잖아. 대중이 뭐 하고 저나 추록시 맞아. 갈래 피는 것도 다 상관다 거라. 추록시 맞아. 새끼가 등에 매봤던 거 대하고 그래. 가다 나는 새끼 떠도 찍봐. 새끼 사기 또 들어오게 나가 칼라라가 싸. 나가 칼바라가 조시 그래. 나 여기 주대. 들어오게 찍봐 차도요. 새끼를 피고 무슨 줄럭과 참하게 잡으려고 뭐 샘을 피고 너 샘을 피는 거리 보고도 샘 잡으려고 미샘 삼지 줘도 그래서 내가 그저 되는 삼지 줄럭 참하게 삼지 쏘시나 참만 죽고 찍자요 말이야 나 쏘시나 들이 나와라 죽어요 그래 막다 그거다 네 대자자 나와라 좀 뭐 저대로 차고 나도 무슨 가는 좀 와서 요 말이야
if there any religion that where there is no grasping at a self, when there is no grasping at a self, then there is no conflict between any religion. And if there is a self, then there is always conflict between religions. It is that the root of all suffering is that self-grasping, also in the secret mantra teachings and so on. Also in the 37 practices it says, all suffering without exception comes from wishing for one's own happiness. The perfect Buddhas arise from the altruistic mind. Actually, Rinpoche says all he really knows is the 37 practices. So for example, whatever we practice, whatever religion we practice, if we practice it with tainted by a self, with a selfish mind, it will not be a genuine practice. The fault really comes down to this self-grasping, the selfish mind, and actually the point of religion is to benefit. So we need to really again go to the root and ask, why are we actually practicing this religion? What's the point? What's the benefit of any religion in the world? That's something we have to think about. Why do we need any religion? We practice our religion because we want to free ourselves from suffering. So this is important to understand. For example, when we look at the difference between ourselves and animals, animals, for example, also know how to find their own food and make their nest and so on. And they know how to do various things. And likewise, any religion that we practice, only striving for ourselves, is not much different than the striving of an animal, for example. So what is really the point of religious practice? It is to benefit all the people in the world. And how can we benefit them? We benefit them if we help them cultivate love in their hearts. And that is the only cause of happiness. And so if all religions would consider that as most important, then there would be no conflict between religions. But if we consider ourselves as most important, then even if you're Buddhist, it will lead to difficulties. Then even within Buddhists, there is fighting and conflict. For example, we are fighting about who gets which seat or which throne. This is my throne, this is his throne, and so on. And then only faults come from that. So all of the faults, actually, all of the conflict comes from the self-grasping mind.
He's a very great teacher. How a teacher chooses his students and how a student chooses his teacher.
Ini Rinpoche lama tsachen Buddhist. Ini sungi yorwa lama takche chigore rwa damgore. Ini lama takche chigore damgore rwa. Ini lama takche chitan khande do. Ini da lama takche chitan khande do.
Kasa karte lama no takche cheba tiyo re. Guru tiyo kashere go re. Mune sino takche toya yo bare. Mune tata takche tong lama rana takche tango re. Nga lama re ye chushi kalche go re. Chushi boda kare re. O senjin pingo re. 가이그 피고 메기 세나 찌와로부터 거래. 저 동에 참아 나를 송노와리. 저 나디 진이 보는 거 삼바다 희게 되면 오 소소로 삼바다 희게 피송 메들 삼바다 희게 되잖아. 그래 문에지 생고 내가 찾고 요래. 그러나 자공이 야전 땡땡 셔 쳐지 맞지 야 찾고. 왜 대자원 말라마야 문이 말이. 미친데라. 몇개 쫓았다. 로지 쇼파데. 내 동안은 로지 쳤대. 뒤를 등이 많고 등이 많고 용이 등이를 다 짭짭 용 말이지. 오, 다 꼰초서 못 잡수가 땅이야 버렸어. 오, 등이 오늘 가르쳐서 오, 내려했어. 사직을 납도 없어. 등이 말이 나대도 나디는 때는 유무 받기 내사. 마진 발랑 그좀 뭐야. 내라서 봤더니 뭐게 소타게 저기 뒤레들 리제레랑미 나도 정말 저쪽 마찰 이제 나선들로 다텔로 도와지니 능이지 하고서 세 능이도 용나 오 능이도 수시에서 유모에서 유모 가도 유모 다다를 안 줄도 자코리 세 자쿠즈와레 뒤는 하고도 뒤뒤다 다음에 능이들이 내 장소 요리 상다 내 다도를 시작이 제반을 이리 또 하나를 이렇게 보여라. 추기 용진 하고서 추기 누가 하고서 뒤에 하고 뒤에 명초도 시작하면 라마도 뭔가 특별 용진 강해요 말이지. 오 라마 똑똑히 말이야. 메시 그만 딱 족정지 네 마치 그 먹이 파티를 먹이 와 공부를 해. 제가 라마야 고 말이지. 보파로 담배요. 네파 게파 엠체 대다다는 엠체도 차요래. 그때 때문에 저 니니 요래 대sab지 능이요 능이를 쭉 팽기 요래. 영영이 쭉 팽기 레주비 하고 거래. 네와 좀지 이거는 저런 잡아간 통나야. 네 강을 접하게 제버리스. 접하 가르스는 삼세를 내. 삼세를 차도 미적 제리지 때문에 되래 요리스. 오, 지양은 지금 이는 파티를 점은 되버렸어. 늘은 나타나면 바까래. 오, 삼색을 내렸어. 그랬더니 네와 참지 몇당 저도 감성 심지 좀이 탑재 네와 동대에도 요바데 삼색을 해서 삼색도 까든 치 상태이 시어면 법당만 보여 말이야. 강해요 말. 참지 저요 말이야. 이는 동네는 냠냠로래. 동네 냠냠을 삼색이 싸지 보여 하고 그래. 주스도 사지 탑재게 상축 선조를 못 치를 못 직장면에 삼색들을 못 치리 람도 문에리 샤지. 상태도 샘나오는 도가도 가서 뒤쪽 내가 나오 저것도 대회는 따따다 거기 사이점이 잠재거든요. 제가 시 마셔서 그 상태들 람도 하지. 조핀지 되게 상태는 무슨 방법이 못해 저거래. 상태미 시당도 차도 없구나. 조상부 상태 라상 카드 시당을 차도를 뒤두개 하고 하자 잡고 시당도 차도를 하다 지상지 때마다 아 라마서 뭐 말해 이치니요 말해 내 밖에 뭐 엔터다를 해
So nowadays, it seems to be a time where everyone, the lamas and the disciples are examining each other, and also it is said that we should examine each other. But then, many people actually do it. But actually, Rinpoche thinks, in his view, it is better if one actually examines oneself than the other. For example, if you're a lama, then the lama should examine himself. The lama should examine the lama. So when I'm teaching the Dharma, what am I actually saying, and what actually is the Dharma? The Dharma is to bring about benefit to sentient beings, and we benefit them if we give them, help them cultivate love in their heart. Because all suffering that they experience comes from that notion of a self. The only antidote to that is love and compassion. So personally now I found that this is what has benefited me, and therefore I find that if I also help others and develop love and compassion, then it will also help them. It is just like when an ice block is melting, then like two ice blocks which were separate before melt into one water. And in that way, if we are really able to help others cultivate love because we have developed it ourselves, then this is how we connect to others, from mind to mind. It is through this altruistic intent that we connect our minds to others when we teach the Dharma. But Rinpoche said, I'm not a great Lama by any means. Actually, in this lifetime I have committed all of the 10 non-virtuous actions, and I've spent 20 years in prison. I'm only someone who has experienced a lot of suffering. And at that time, when I was in prison, I really had no refuge at all, except for the 3 jewels. Then I really began to understand the preciousness of the 3 jewels protection. And also all the difficulties I encountered, I found that this is my own karma. This is what the Buddha had said. All suffering without exception comes from wishing for one's own happiness. It comes from self-grasping. Self-grasping leads to afflictive emotions, and driven by them we accumulate karma. For example, killing and stealing and so on. All of the non-virtuous actions. And then I realized that all of the negative actions committed with the body, they ripen on the body. And all of the negative actions committed with the speech, like telling lies and harsh speech and so on, they ripen through the speech. And then the non-virtuous actions of the mind, like desire and the wish to harm others and so on, they ripen in the mind, as misery in the mind. So this is the experience that I have myself gained. And being in the midst of difficulties, then I ask myself, who is responsible for that? It is the afflictive emotions. And then where are they? They're still here in my own mind. So they are my own real enemy. It is not anyone else to blame. And all the difficulty I experience actually is a good thing because it purifies my negative karma. It is like being cured from an illness or doing a surgery to be cured. So actually, therefore, I find that I had a quite happy time in prison. And I really understood the good qualities of Dharma practice, the power of Dharma practice I understood through these hardships. So I'm really only someone who shares experiences of having experienced hardships. I'm not a Lama that has many great qualities and much learning and so on. I'm more someone who has a lot of experience having committed negative actions like stealing and being in wars and so on. All of the 10 non-virtuous actions that you can imagine I've committed in this life. In Tibet there is a saying we're saying the best doctor is an old patient, an old sick person, someone who was sick before. So I'm more like such a doctor, and that is why some people like to listen to my instructions. And because I have experienced difficulties, overcome it through the Dharma, and so I'm just really sharing my experiences. And so having found the benefits of Dharma practice, I found it is important that everyone understands the workings of karma, cause and effect. For example, even if you just experience the smallest happiness if you have a cup of tea to drink, then what is the karma of that? It comes from having practiced generosity. And why do we practice generosity? Because of love. So it is a karma of love. Or for example, if someone gives you even just like a candy bar, for example, that's also karma. It is because you've given to others in previous lives and so on. So everything ripens, even in the most subtle way. And the slightest happiness comes even from a mind of love. And so this is the cause of happiness of all beings, humans or animals, all beings in the three realms, with or without a body. And that is one thing I've learned, that and for this reason cultivated full trust.
딜이 제일 딜이 소지 삭지 싸우는 매 총지 세도 요리 쩔도 요리 매달 가을 요리 대성네 다 미먹은 게 나를 가거든 이게 다들 가야지 피고 이 타면도 다 도로 따로 따스는 가리치 파트에 맞으면 소소를 나와를 도거리 되네 말을 다 삭지 딜이 딜이 삭지 계속 다 우리 피하고 저거도 이게 피는 락 겹상에 예선이 하고도 라는 생기 중에 라지 참이 되게 오래시 말을 생기 거죠 마데 결심이 체랑 서거신인데 쉽지도 삼제를 미니 영화 있으면 피고 오래 좀때
And then there's this term lama, that is actually very important to understand the meaning of lama. It consists of two syllables, la and ma. And this was explained to Rinpoche by his own guru, Jigten, when Rinpoche was very young. And he explained that la is like the life force energy. It is like the life force energy of all them, like the spirit, or life force energy of all beings. For example, we put like little like children even on a high throne, like a turko. We put little children on a high throne, like turkos and so on, and we take refuge in them, like Rinpoche himself when he was very young. And then people come and they think of you, they rely on you. So just like that, that is that la. And then ma means like mother, the mother of all sentient beings. So then if you're the mother of all sentient beings, you also have to protect them. You must have love for them. And the way to protect them is not through material things, not through food and so on, but you protect them if you develop love. So that is what they need. That is what they do not have. What they need is love. So therefore, I felt Jigten actually, my guru, said that if you have no love for those beings who rely on you as their refuge, then that is really the greatest downfall on your side. So therefore, that really made me afraid. If I have no love, that is actually terrible. So Rinpoche said in the beginning, when